This paper was presented at the JCT Traffic Signals Symposium 2023 in Nottingham, thanks to the support of AGD Systems, INRIX, Message Maker Displays, PTV Group, Simplify Systems, Smart Micro UK and TRL Software.
So, I'm going to talk to you today about what we've done in Derbyshire. Now, obviously, I'm not from Derbyshire, so I'm going to give you a little bit of background as to some of the issues they had and some of the things that we've put in place to help them with their ITS network. So, in terms of background, like all councils, Derbyshire had lots of different systems coming into their building, coming into different departments. They were all completely standalone. They weren't talking to each other. They had different people having different access to different systems. And what they were trying to do was seek a partner who could put all those things together, reduce the congestion, and improve overall traffic, the overall traffic network in the area. So, the overall challenge, they had lots of different systems, as I said, all in different locations. They were not integrated with each other at all. They had a big lack of communication and coordination between those existing systems. And they also had the lack of infrastructure to connect them together. So there was a big push to try and make the whole road network more reactive, rather than waiting for something to happen and then the traffic engineers then having to do something about the thing that had already happened. So they were looking for a more reactive way to reduce some of the inefficiencies. So what we looked at together was a vision. So they're looking for a hosted system that could be provided. This hosted system, all on one platform, so we haven't got the multiple systems controlled by multiple users in multiple locations and all very disconnected. The ability to collect, store and analyse the data on the system, and to have a single platform where they can access all the tools available to them in the control room to be able to do traffic management correctly and provide inventive ways throughout the county to ensure that the road network stayed the best way it could. So we created a traffic management solution at SWARCO along with Derbyshire County Council, where we collected data on the relevant network conditions. We provided storage analysis of that data to provide them with the interventions they needed. We also provided management information and reporting tools to be able to allow the users to make allow them to do decision making on the system. Some of this is automated and some of this is manually controlled. So, what we offered them was a MyCity UTMC platform. This is a platform which, as you can see up there, has a load of different connectivity. So we can connect to all these multiple systems that Derbyshire had. We could use the APIs to connect in, and then we could use their credentials to provide the data that they're already getting in a separate system, but all in one location. They can then use this data to do strategy management and manual management to stop someone having to sit there and manually program these things in. One of the areas we were looking at was the data that was coming in and what you needed to do with it. As in, you needed to set a VMS sign to move traffic around that area using that ITS data that was coming in. So that's all now available to be done automatically through the system. So how we implemented this in a phased approach, so that all of their current systems, so anything that was currently out on street or that they were currently getting a connection for, could be connected. So they didn't have to replace any of their current systems. They could use what was currently there. Utilising external APIs to make those data sources available, using the existing infrastructure in Derbyshire that we could add to make it one single system. They didn't have to invest in, as I said, any new equipment to do control or monitoring of the network. All of that was available directly through their existing infrastructure. There are a few challenges to overcome, one main one being any systems that were non-UTMC compliant, because obviously it was going into a UTMC system. We needed to make sure that the data coming in was then created in a way that we could then put it into a UTMC compliant system, database, and also integrating with competitor systems. We're not asking councils to go away and buy all of our systems, all of SWARCO systems. We're actually looking at integrating competitor systems as well, so that you have got the full range of products to be able to connect in and then use the data that you're getting from them. We did this by a 5-phased approach with Derbyshire, starting off by creating some of the basic core functions that they could have in there, then kind of building up the complexity, so working out what else they need, what other data can go in, what other data streams have they got somewhere else in the building, what else can we connect in. Data is only as good as the data that you're getting in if you're going to use it. There's no point collecting lots and lots of data and it just sitting in a database. It needs to be used, it needs to be monitored, it needs to be controlled in a way that is actually beneficial to you. So as I said, we did this as a phased approach, and you can see all the different areas that we looked at through that phased approach with Derbyshire, and we're still doing more at the moment. One of the major benefits that we have of this system was that Derbyshire were then able to monitor and evaluate the data in a more effective manner. It required fewer personnel, which meant that there wasn't a person just sitting there watching when a car park gets full and then putting a VMS sign message on. And I know from speaking to a number of councils out there, you have people who sit there and watch the data stream come in for a car park, and when it gets over a certain period, they have to manually set a message. This is all done automatically on the system. Didn't have multiple systems in various locations, as I said, around the council. They had lots of different technologies then working together, and it created a more effective system. Since the information was all collected, stored in one place, and then can be used all together. So you could use car park data, you can use journey time data, it could use air pollution data to grab all of those different things in and make an output to control the traffic from all of that data rather than just from one aspect. What we've got here is a bit of a connection diagram. So these are the types of systems we've connected into the Derbyshire UTMC system. We've got bus open data service, BODS data, providing real-time bus location data. This can be reviewed on a map. It allows the council to visualise what the current performance of the bus network is and act as necessary on that. We have the Eagle Eye Network CCTV system, so the council can live stream their CCTV into the control room and use that to check on how junctions are performing, what the road network's looking like, and things like that. We have provided temporary traffic management systems into there, which is mobile VMS signs, so they can be set either manually or automatically via scheduler or via strategy manager. As we've got on there, we've also got car parks, as I said earlier, so that they can be updated with real-time occupancy data directly onto VMS signs, so no one's having to manually sit, watch, push messages to signs. It's all automated on there. And we've also done a bit of work on pre-emptive traffic management system for there, and communication with road users, disseminating information such as out on Twitter and via emails. So the last bit on here, and this was a bit that David was going to read out, so it's going to sound a bit strange for me, but effectively, Derbyshire County Council have told us that they feel that it's a great example of how we can work together to ensure that we have cooperation and coordination throughout the ITS network, and that the common database is a great way to store new data and create strategies to have a positive impact on the road network. And it's great to be able to have the different range of equipment from multiple sources all in one location. Okay, that's me.
Brilliant stuff, thank you. Just to, for a bear of very little brain, it doesn't matter, you deal with the data that is available, you don't expect any extra data to be found somewhere. Nope. Basically, you just take what you've got and make sense of it. Yeah, so data can come from a whole variety of different areas, and everyone will know in their councils and in their areas how much data is coming in. It comes in from all over the place. You've got floating car data, you've got virtual detection, you've got physical assets out on the street. All of those things, as long as they're connected to an external interface, will have data feed into it. So generally we can take data from any of those locations, feed it into the database, and then use that data to help manage the road traffic network. Now, hopefully I'm going to ask a helpful question, not a horrible question. One of the things we all know about SWARCO is you now have you've bought DINIC, you've got the DINIC system as well. How is the integration between the best of both going? So we're currently working to integrate all of the DINIC systems and SWARCO systems into the new MyCity urban mobility platform. We've got probably about 50% of the way there at the moment. There's a roadmap for the next year and a half to complete that work, to ensure that we have the same functionality and more in the newer system, providing the newer technology. Wow, because it's not to upset developers a couple of lines of code, is it? It's definitely not. Right. Any questions from the audience before we have coffee? We go. Chris.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Chris Kennett Consulting. You mentioned about automation and the system helping automate and reducing the sort of the staffing and the manual staffing elements. My experience of other systems and UTMC systems is often the client in particular underestimates the amount of configuration resource and the maintenance and management of the configuration of those systems in the first place. Could you just sort of talk through or give us a little bit of detail about how sort of that's been set up and the resource implications just for maintaining the database? So SWARCO do the resourcing themselves, provide the updates as long as we've got the right information, obviously from the customer credentials for an API. We do the configuration side. In terms of the automation, what we're doing and what we plan to do is lots of training around the automation side. So giving the councils a chance to bring scenarios to us and say, I've got 3 car parks in this area that I want to kind of link all together and say, if this one gets full, I want to start moving people to this one, I want to start moving people to this one. And we work with them with that automation to say, these are the steps you need to go through to get that done. And don't just leave you guys to it with any more, do I, Joel? To get that done, we try and work together so that we can put the right things in place so that you don't need the more personnel and you don't need the massive overhead to get everything set up. Okay, thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you. There's my friend Don Brown from Highways Magazine at the back there, so a bit of a run for you to get up to him. No, well, because then we can pick you up on the recording, Don. We want to hear every word perfectly, my friend.
Thank you very much, Paul. I was interested in the street manager data. How do you export that? Is there a separate API or a system to get the street manager data into your UTMC? And also the Vaisala data, I assume that's winter service related. I was hoping
So both things are external APIs that we connect directly into. We have development teams that create adapters for DFT Street Manager and for Vaisala, the weather stations, and they are going directly into the UTMC system and coming out as roadworks assets directly on the map, so that they can then be used in strategies or just to display on messages. And the same with the Vaisala. We can actually take the data that comes in on the Vaisala APIs and use that data to either display on VMS signs or use it to publish an email or set another strategy in place or change plans on a traffic controller. There's a variety of different options when we've got the data in.
Right, so bespoke API for Street Manager, Vaisala provide the API. And just the final one, the information from Vaisala, and it's a bit of a difficult question to quantify, but how much of an impact does that kind of weather-related data have on the traffic flow? So
it has there's two sides of the Vaisala side. So Vaisala data is a variety of different things. So some customers that we find use the Vaisala data for things like snow coming over the mountains. They can then pick that up. They can then contact the branch of the department that has to do, say, gritting and say, look, we've got something coming up. We need to start looking at gritting. We need to put salt spreading out on the VMS signs on the network to show that there's going to be vehicles on the road. A brilliant one is on bridges. So if you look at something like the Dartford Crossing, if you've got wind weather stations on the Dartford Crossing, you could automate when a wind speed reaches above a certain level that VMS signs go up and either get vehicles to slow down. You know, sometimes they need to move the lorries to the middle lane to stop them being on the edge, or they need to close part of the road. All of that can be automated. Someone's still there watching it. I'm not saying robots are taking over and it's all done by AI, but it means that someone hasn't got to rush around and do something straight away because they've got a phone call in saying, oh, the wind's picked up and you need to do something now. So it's there to try and help rather than take over.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. We're out of time. Big round of applause for Andy Newman. Thank you.